If Japan has the trillions, why is the US still in charge? Japan owns trillions in assets around the globe. They lend to the world's biggest economies, and their currency, the yen, is a safe harbor in global storms. Yet, despite all this wealth, Japan doesn't run the game. The United States, with its debt, its deficits, and its constant political drama, somehow still holds the crown as the world's most powerful economy. How? What secret levers give America the power to outmuscle even the world's richest investors? In this video, we're going deep, from Wall Street to Tokyo, from oil markets to military bases, to uncover the hidden machinery that decides who really runs the world's economy. And trust me, by the end, you'll see the game in a whole new way. We'll follow the money, the power, and the influence. Japan may be the world's banker, but the United States, they own the vault, print the money, and guard the door. To understand why Japan's wealth isn't enough to topple the US, we have to start with Japan's financial muscle, the quiet, calculated power that made it one of the richest nations on Earth. Japan's financial muscle. Japan may not dominate headlines like it did in the 1980s, but in the quiet world of finance, it is still a giant. Japan is one of the world's largest capital exporters. Its pension funds, insurance companies, and corporations own trillions in foreign assets, from US Treasury bonds to London real estate to infrastructure projects in Southeast Asia. When Japan moves money, the markets feel it. The Japanese yen is a safe haven currency. In times of crisis, when investors panic, money rushes into yen. This trust gives Japan influence over global currency flows without firing a single shot. And Japan is also one of the largest foreign holders of US debt, often swapping places with China for the #1 spot. This means America's ability to borrow cheaply partly rests in Japanese hands. And then there's the carry trade. For decades, Japan has kept interest rates near zero, sometimes even negative. Investors borrow in yen at almost no cost, then invest in higher yield assets abroad, flooding global markets with liquidity. Tokyo's monetary policy echoes far beyond its shores. But Japan's financial power didn't appear overnight. It was built after a war that left the nation in ruins, and it rose so fast that by the 1980s, some believed Japan would overtake the United States entirely. The rise of Japan's economy. In 1945, Japan lay in ashes, cities destroyed, industry crippled, a nation defeated both militarily and economically. Under American occupation, Japan rebuilt. American aid, combined with Japanese discipline and innovation, sparked an industrial revival that would become known as the Japanese economic miracle. From the 1950s to the 1980s, Japan's economy grew at lightning speed. Automobiles, electronics, and shipbuilding, Japanese brands became household names: Toyota, Sony, Panasonic, Honda. Efficiency, quality, and precision became Japan's signature. By the mid-1980s, Japan had overtaken West Germany to become the second largest economy in the world. Its products dominated global markets. Its companies were buying iconic landmarks in America, from Rockefeller Center to golf courses in Hawaii. Japan's stock market soared. Real estate prices hit levels so high that Tokyo's Imperial Palace grounds were said to be worth more than all the land in California. But bubbles don't last forever. In the early 1990s, the party ended. Property values collapsed, the stock market crashed, and Japan entered what became known as the Lost Decades, a period of slow growth that still lingers today. Even after the crash, Japan remained a financial powerhouse, but its days as the challenger to America's throne were over. And to understand why the United States stayed on top, we have to look at something Japan could never match: sheer economic scale and consumption power. U.S. economic scale and consumption power. Here's the thing about power in the global economy: size matters. And the United States? It's not just big, it's massive. America's economy is more than 3 times larger than Japan's. In 2025, the US produces over $28 trillion worth of goods and services. Japan, around $4.2 trillion. That gap alone gives America more leverage in trade, investment, and policy. The United States is the world's largest consumer market. Over 330 million people, with spending power that dwarfs entire continents. When Americans buy, the world's factories, farms, and service industries feel the demand. And the US imports more than any other nation. This isn't weakness, it's influence. If America stops buying, exporters from Asia to Europe feel the pain instantly, and that gives Washington serious negotiating power. Unlike Japan, America's domestic market can sustain itself without depending entirely on exports. That self-sufficiency means fewer vulnerabilities and more control over its own economic destiny. But size and spending aren't the only weapons in America's arsenal. The US has something even more powerful, something no other country, not Japan, not China, can match: the world's most important currency. The US dollar's reserve currency power. If economic size is muscle, the US dollar is America's nuclear weapon. Nearly 60% of all foreign currency reserves are held in US dollars. That means central banks, corporations, and governments around the world store their wealth in America's money. Oil, wheat, steel, even deals between countries that aren't American are often priced in dollars. If you want to buy on the world stage, you need US currency. And here's the hidden advantage. The United States can print the very currency the world needs to trade and invest. No other country has that kind of power, not even Japan with its vast investments. And the dollar isn't just money, it's a weapon. Control the dollar, control who gets to move money. That's why US sanctions can cripple entire economies without firing a single shot. But America's dominance isn't built on currency alone. The dollar pulls money in, and where does that money go? Straight into the beating heart of global finance, Wall Street. Wall Street and financial gravity. If the US dollar is the blood of global trade, Wall Street is the heart that pumps it. Wall Street is a black hole for money, pulling in investments from Tokyo, London, Zurich, and Singapore. Why? Because US markets are deep, liquid, and open 24/7 to the world's biggest players. Trillions in stocks, bonds, and commodities flow through here every single day. If a nation's wealth managers want the safest, fastest returns, they don't just buy American companies, they buy America's markets. And here's the twist. When the world is in crisis, money runs towards Wall Street, not away from it. That flight to safety makes the US richer even during global chaos. When Wall Street sneezes, the world catches a cold. A simple interest rate change in New York can shake stock markets from Brazil to Bangladesh. But America isn't the only player with financial muscle. Some countries don't rely on size, they rely on precision. Political and military influence. Money alone doesn't run the world, power does. And no nation has projected power like the United States. The US maintains over 750 military bases in at least 80 countries. These bases aren't just for defense, they guard global trade routes. 90% of world trade moves by sea, and the US Navy patrols the key choke points: the Strait of Hormuz, the Malacca Strait, the Suez Canal. When oil tankers or cargo ships pass, they're moving under a security system largely built and enforced by America. If you protect the road, you decide who walks it. That's how the US uses its military as economic leverage. Allies, including Japan, benefit from this protection. In exchange, they align politically and economically with American interests. Japan doesn't need to spend heavily on its own military because US security guarantees allow it to focus on economic growth. But that also means Washington holds a card Tokyo can't match: the ability to keep global trade safe or block it overnight. In 2019, tensions rose in the Persian Gulf. Oil shipments were threatened. Within hours, US naval fleets were repositioned to secure the lanes, stabilizing prices. Without that intervention, Japan's oil supply, 90% of which travels through those waters, could have been crippled. Japan might be the world's banker, but the US is the guard at the bank's front door. Innovation and corporate dominance. Military power protects the economy, but innovation creates it. And no country dominates innovation like the United States. Silicon Valley is more than tech companies. It's the world's innovation hub. Every year, trillions in venture capital flow here. Startups from AI to biotech compete, and global investors pour money into this ecosystem, including Japan. The result? America sets the pace for technology, digital infrastructure, and global standards. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, and Google shape how the world works, communicates, and spends money. Hollywood and streaming giants amplify cultural reach.
Japan excels in industrial precision, cars, electronics, robotics, but US companies dominate global digital culture and infrastructure. Where Japan innovates products, the US innovates entire ecosystems, platforms, apps, financial networks, and cloud infrastructure. Military muscle secures trade routes, finance moves the money, but American innovation ensures the world follows its lead. The levers of soft power. Power isn't only about armies or money. Sometimes it's about what people watch, listen to, and aspire to. That's soft power, and the United States has it in spades. American movies, series, and streaming platforms dominate global screens. From Marvel to Netflix originals, the US shapes trends, values, and conversations worldwide. Every blockbuster exported is a subtle reminder. This is the American way of thinking, living, and dreaming. Pop music, NBA, NFL, and even lifestyle trends like sneakers and fashion create cultural influence that money alone cannot buy. Japan has anime and J-pop, but the US sets the dominant global narrative. Cultural influence attracts attention, admiration, and loyalty. It shapes markets, tourism, and even foreign policy indirectly. Platforms like Google, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok shape communication worldwide. Even infrastructure, payment systems, social media norms, and digital content standards are influenced by US companies. Soft power ensures that even without spending a dollar in another country, America's ideas, culture, and tech shape daily life for billions of people. And when culture follows money, the system itself bends to US influence. How Japan still shapes the world. While the US dominates with money, military, and culture, Japan wields influence quietly, strategically, and with precision. Japan holds trillions in US Treasury bonds, making it one of America's largest creditors. This financial leverage is subtle but critical. Japan indirectly supports US borrowing, helping maintain low interest rates and global economic stability. Japan remains a global leader in technology, electronics, and industrial machinery. Companies like Toyota, Sony, Panasonic, and Hitachi shape manufacturing standards worldwide. Even American and European companies depend on Japanese precision parts and innovation. Without Japan's expertise in advanced manufacturing, many global supply chains would stall. Their influence isn't flashy, but it is indispensable. Japanese corporations and pension funds invest heavily abroad, from US real estate to Southeast Asian infrastructure. These investments quietly shape global markets, influence corporate strategies, and create interdependence. Japan may not have the largest army or the most dominant culture, but as a banker, a tech innovator, and a strategic investor, it quietly pulls levers that affect billions of people around the globe. The economic chessboard is complex. Every move counts. The US may control the board, but Japan holds some of the most crucial pieces. Conclusion and takeaway. So here's the truth. Japan is the banker, the quiet investor shaping markets, technology, and production worldwide. The US? It's the system itself, controlling the currency, markets, military, and culture. Japan's strength: capital exports, technological precision, and strategic investments. US strength: economic scale, the dollar as the world's reserve currency, military reach, and global innovation. Interdependence: neither dominates alone. Both are crucial pieces on the global chessboard. In the end, power isn't just who has the most money. It's who controls the rules, the roads, and the minds of the world. And that's why the US still leads, even when Japan holds the purse strings. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Japan could ever overtake the US as the world's top economic power? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're reading every one. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to hit like, share it with someone who loves global finance, and subscribe for our next deep dive into the forces shaping the world's economy.